What's up, buddy? How's that for an intro?
Gotta love that. Howdy.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and happy birthday to Cody and all the other people that have a birthday around the holiday. That makes it really hard to get birthday presents and Christmas presents from everybody because it's the same thing.
Yeah, the easiest thing is you don't get them anything.
There you
go. Merry Christmas to all of those here coming and hanging out for a Christmas Eve real estate show. I was literally sitting there this morning and I was like, oh, it's Christmas Eve. Yeah, I got to do the show. I was like, you know what? I haven't been able to spend any time with Dion and Mike. So Millennial Mike will join us shortly sometime after he's finished bench pressing one of his friends, I'm sure. But yeah, I wanted to hang out and talk real estate and answer people's questions. And I figure everyone's getting ready for the insanity that's going to ensue at their houses later on today.
If you don't have a topic ready.
Oh, go for it. Whatever you want.
Well, I was just saying we could talk about potentially getting sued by jerkwads that don't like to talk about.
Oh, Dion, I think we're going to spend some time in a courtroom this year.
I think so.
Go ahead, go for it.
So to be clear, I will be remaking that video, doing two things. I should just share that. Yeah, I'll do it later when I figure out this system.
You can share it.
Well, so a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on how a certain individual cost my friend $100,000, and how by ignoring that individual, I doubled $100,000. And I wasn't going, hey, let's hypothetically say. I said, here is a real life example. Like, this is what's happened. And I called someone out by name, one of the Crash Bros. Literally, if you want to know his name, he has called 19 of the last 2 recessions.
I was going to say.
And so he reached out, the person himself.
Sort of kind of reached out.
Diatribe book. It looked like an AI answer, but it was basically, we're going to see your pants off, which is funny because when I do Zoom videos, I'm not wearing pants. Those are optional.
Joke's on you. I don't even own any pants.
Right, exactly. And in reality, what it was the Crash Bros as a whole cost my friend $100,000. And because I ignored them, I doubled $100,000 in the same time period on almost exactly the same deal. And the mistake was calling the person out by name and actually kind of saying it like it was close to factual. Right. When everything on YouTube from my channel is my opinion. Like, it can't be anything but my opinion.
True.
So I'm not sure if, like you said, I'm going to double down and go, look what this kid named him. Look what this douchebag is doing. He's threatening to sue me. So, anyway.
I mean, it'd give you something to do in 2024. Aside
it would actually be more fun.
You're great in the courtroom.
Irish Alzheimer's, right? I remember the things worth fighting over, and I forget everything else.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, all your courtroom experience should do you an advantage. However, he spent a fair amount of time battling with attorneys in the last 2 years as well. So
yeah, he's got more. If it was about keeping custody of a kid, I think I have more experience than he does in the courtroom. But if it's about protecting your dumb statements, your retarded statements that cost people lots of money, I think he has the experience and the legal team. So
yeah, that's true.
On to more fun things of people making money in real estate and reaching financial freedom and not listening to the Crash Bros.
We're not doing any of that this year. It was an interesting week. I closed that big. So I closed 3 deals in the last 2 weeks. And so I closed the one that I sold, which I did seller financing on. I closed on the construction loan for the jail. So that's exciting. We're going to spend over $1 million there. I'm not sure I'm loving that, but going to spend over $1 million there. So it's like Burr times 7. So we're doing that, and that was exciting, but the finally closed on the deal that I thought I made $1 million the day that I closed on it. And in commercial deals, they don't fill out disclosures. And they don't have to disclose. There's a bunch of rules around them not having to disclose things. And so the good news is I'll still make money. The bad news is I'm going to have to spend some to get there. There were just some, they literally, like, unbelievable. The tenant there, I met with her, bought the property, met with the tenant on this week, and she's a nightmare. She's an absolute unmitigated nightmare. We always, try and I steal a page out of Dion's book. I'm hugging wives, I'm kissing babies. Let's just, hey, whatever happened in the past happened in the past. Let's find a way to move forward. At the end of the day, I'm a new owner. And so, it works a whole lot better if we just try and work together and solve problems together. And so long as you're reasonable and recognize that because I'm not a gas company, because I'm not a plumber, because I'm not a this, because I'm not a that, I can't make it instantaneous. All I can do is call and get good people there as quickly as I can get them. And that's the best that I can do. I think the legal term to that is commercially reasonable. And holy cow, she's a pill. She's an unbelievable pill. I mean,
you heard me talk about the Richard Branson quote, right?
No, I don't think so.
It's better to have a hole on your team than an a-hole on your team. So what is it going to take to ameliorate that situation and get rid of her?
Well, I am taking over a lawsuit from the old landlord, but it was a lease break. So it was like fairly open and shut, that's what I believed, until I couldn't they wouldn't allow me access to the tenant. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. They wouldn't allow me they got me access to the attorney, but the attorney is like, I can't talk about it. It's attorney-client privilege. I was like, why are we talking? And I said, I need you to at least don't paint the whole picture for me, but at least tell me what we're looking at, generally speaking. He's like, well, I couldn't really get into all the details and this, that, and the other. And still I was just like, so the good news for me is I went back for a squeeze and I got, we'll just say tens of thousands of dollars as a credit at the end. The downside is I think that might be light. So people are going to go along for a journey with me this year, seeing exactly what's going to net on this deal. But I think that, one of the things that protects you in commercial and residential real estate is the disclosures, and certainly what they call the multifamily rider. That protects you when you're buying those types of residential assets. And so they have to disclose everything. And if they don't disclose something, you can sue them. There's all sorts of great protections there for those. The challenging thing is that on the commercial side, they don't really exist.
Yeah. The list of things on the commercial side that stop me and keep me in residential gets bigger every time I hear about commercial deals.
Absolutely. I don't love them. I really don't. This particular one is admittedly a generational deal. It allows us to have an asset that's cash producing while it's also got a bunch of land that we can develop. And so we might go into that. We might not, don't know. But based on the upside, it was okay. It was calculated. However, this is exactly why I don't like commercial real estate. It's much more the Wild West. It's much more the Wild West than residential is. Residential has a ton of protections in it. Commercial really doesn't. It just doesn't. They don't have to fill out these disclosures. They're not required by law. Everything is gray. There's no black and white. What's really funny is that's not how I sell my properties. Even my commercial ones, I'm just like, here's everything we did in the last 5 years. Here's the stuff that we know we have coming. That's everything that we know and are aware of. But holy cow, the gray area, I'd say 5% is white, 5% is black, and 90% is gray. So it'll be interesting to see, but who knows? We'll see.
So the other thing to think about when we're talking commercial versus residential is the debt structure.
Oh,
and so if you
sure.
take somebody like me, 8 properties,
Mhm.
18 units,
Mhm.
a couple $100,000 in cash flow profit every year, I don't want adjustable rate debt, loan reevaluation periods, having to refinance, sell, or cut a check in 5, 7, or 10 years, versus somebody with 137 plus units,
Mhm.
closing on more deals, massive multipliers of the amounts of cash flow that I have. Well, it might not feel like it in those years where you're like, yeah, I'm going to spend $1 million to make money in the future. Like the cash flow doesn't feel like it's there because you're broke, right? Whatever you have, you're investing. So
Yeah.
we're at that broke
Largely.
station.
Yep.
Whether you make $5 or $50,000 in a day, it's gone into the next investment. So if somebody's starting right now and they're thinking, oh, it sounds like a lot of risk and a lot of work for Matt, I'm like, yeah, for the size of his portfolio,
Absolutely.
it's a small percentage that you're putting at risk, taking the chances and doing those things. Like the same thing comes up when somebody says, I'm going to make an appreciation play. Yeah. If you have $10 million worth of assets and you put $300,000 or $400,000 into an appreciation play, good for you. If you're just starting out and an appreciation play could add 20 years to your investing, maybe not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that that's really part of the key is, having the portfolio to take on the risk. I see some newer investors and they take that plunge and they do a heavy seller financing. It's a little bit different, right? Because you're really much more in control of the terms. This is actually variable rate debt, but with big risk, big reward, right? In this particular case, you could do the same amount of single family homes versus what I'm going to do with this property. And I'm probably going to make 5X or 7X what somebody would make on single family homes. And so there's a risk reward. The idea is, how do you mitigate that risk as much as you possibly can? You shouldn't be doing anything like this on a dime, but a lot of times the banks won't let you. A lot of times the banks won't let you do it if you don't have some of those reserves and have some of those pieces in place. This was, I talked with Anna Kelly probably about 6 weeks or so ago. And I was just looking, kind of validating strategy. And I said, I just had my bank literally turn around and say no to me. And I was like, you don't say no to me.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And what was really funny is then they're like, yeah, we do say no to you. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. And that was after all they'd already committed. So at that point I was bank shopping. I was looking for the lender who was going to come together and basically underwrite this deal. And thankfully I had enough people in my network where somebody was just like, oh yeah, I'll write that deal. I was like, okay. And that's how we got financing on that deal. They had to underwrite the deal, generally speaking, but far more what they were underwriting was me as an investor. They're like, yeah, if you run into any problems, like you've got great cash flow, you've got good reserves. If you run into a problem with this one deal, it's $10,000 a month. It's not, $150,000 guaranteed loss in like a 90-day period type of thing. So in that particular case, yeah, build out your network. Your network is your net worth. We were able to still put the deal together. Grateful that we did. But yeah, with that risk comes reward. Like a lot of times, like when you and I started, it was survival. It was the best way to do this is just get into a house hack. Even though Dave Ramsey and his entire crew think it's a fallacy. Great post yesterday. I was like,
yeah, I got that in the Bigger Pockets groups, and then on my feed to support Millennial Mike's video, which he did a really good job on. And so I put that in there as a link, because that's kind of how you can get into those groups, is you make a post and then in a comment you put in the video. I can't post my own videos there, but I can post Mike's. And that was a good video where he did the work. He found the clips of, because there were several comments of, oh, Dave never said that. And I was like, here's the video.
No. He did.
Yeah, and he did. So good job, Mike, on making that. When you talk about the bank saying no, and this is a quote that I take from my dad. I love you and I still miss you. But he said, he used to say this all the time when I was a kid. He says, you can't often go to the bank and borrow money because the bank will say, we're not going to lend you money because you need it.
Exactly. So true.
You have to be able to not need the money to be able to borrow the money. And I was having a conversation through chat with somebody either this morning or yesterday, both blended together. They were asking, how do you get the first rental, right? Like, I've got this house and my debt to income ratio is like in the low 40s and I want to buy a rental. But every time I talk to a lender, they're like, your debt to income ratio, we can't do this loan. And that's there as a protection, right? If your debt to income ratio is high and you buy a rental and then it needs a roof or foundation work, or you go through an eviction or a lawsuit, that's setting you up for failure. The bank is actually doing you a favor when they say, why don't we find out if you can handle this first?
Absolutely.
Right? If your debt to income ratio is good enough, like you get your income up and your expenses low, your fixed payments low, and you've got the gap to cover 3 or 4 months of a mortgage on a rental, yeah, we'll lend you the money, sure. But if you were kind of low income, like my first 8 years of investing, my 8th year I made 61,000. Every year before that was less than 50. So I wasn't making hundreds, 6 figures to get into rentals. So I had to fix a few things when I moved from my house. So it was my suggestion to this person is they have a house, move into an apartment, rent your house out for 2 years. This gets rental income on your tax returns. Since you have rental income on your tax returns, now when you go to buy a rental, they'll actually look at that rental income in your debt to income ratio. But you also have 2 years screening tenants, placing tenants, dealing with tenants, finding a lease, collecting rents, fixing repairs. You have handyman and contractors that you can get a hold of. So now the lender is looking, okay, you have 2 years rental income, so we can use that, but you have 2 years of landlord experience. So yeah, it's not an immediate overnight. The other option is you go out and you get a DSCR loan. Doesn't look at your debt to income, your income, your salary, your wages, your work history, or anything. But it's more risky. So the lenders go with a higher down payment and a higher interest rate. So there's a lot of different options to get started in this. And a lot of them are shut up and wait.
Yeah.
Get that 2 years of rental income to prove to yourself you can do this before you scale on a massive level.
Yeah, it's true. And it's those deals, the deals that we did in the beginning of our journey, they saved us. I was a higher income earner, but I was a heavy debt, carrying all the debt from my very first few before the real estate recession. And so then when the Great Recession hit, if you had debt, you were dead to the banks. They didn't want to help you. They were just like, no. We only lend out to people that actually have money. Oh, aren't you a bank? Yep, exactly. Got it. Now I understand. But now it's funny because now I'm in that position. Now I'm on the benefactor side, where it's just kind of like, hey, so what projects do you have coming up? And I was like, I need to go find some because you're going to give me money, right? And they're like, oh yeah. I was like, I'll go find some. So yeah, so it's an interesting thing to watch, but again, I think it's is the juice worth the squeeze? And for sure on this deal, I mean, I'm going to spend a lot of money. I'm going to spend, some time. I think I'm going to spend some time in court. And so I don't want any of those things. I'm like, yay, whippy, we get to do this because I know how expensive that is. I mean, this month alone, I paid $13,000 in legal fees just this month. Now it was for fun stuff. It was for development planning and, town meetings and things like that. And making sure we had all of our paperwork prepared for our multiple applications on multiple projects. But this is going to be less fun money spent in court. I don't want to go to court, but I'm not afraid of going to court. And that's one of the things we try and demystify in my course is here's what you can expect if you're in court. Here's what you can expect with procedure. Here's what you can expect with, a lot of times landlords get scared when they're in court and they think that they have the lower hand. And they really don't. They really do have the upper hand if you just followed the steps that we kind of lay out for here's how you manage this and make sure you're in a good spot. So we'll start welcoming everybody in. So Brett, good morning. Merry Christmas. Beth, best real estate agent in the world, Beth Traverso. Sadly, she only works West Coast. So but I love mine here on the East Coast. Anna K, Avengers special today. Yay, Merry Christmas. Happy variety of holidays to all. You as well, Anna K. Key, Merry Christmas, everyone. Key also, where is Santa, Matt? I don't know. I'd like to know where Santa is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have
Last year I had a Santa hat.
Yeah, I had to wrap all the presents this year. Santa, that bastard. Theta Hedge Capital, it is Merry Christmas, and we are doing an all Avengers Christmas. All-nighter, good morning. Both my kids, all I wanted for Christmas. I'm a very happy dad. Very good. Love to hear that. The Yoder, Merry Christmas. Good morning, Mandy. Kurt C. Merry Christmas, Matt. Merry Christmas, Kurt C. Good to have you here. Dion will just buy another property to pay for the court costs. No big deal. That's true. What a sad thing to shop for. Why are you buying this one? I got to cover some court shit.
Well, I've got the travel duplex, the vehicle duplex,
that's right?
The healthcare triplex, the vodka fourplex. You've got an asset for every expense. And if I need one for courts, there we go.
We'll only have a problem when the vodka fourplex turns into a 12 unit. It's the biggest property that you have. Anna K, yes, Merry Christmas. Robert Fairnelly, Merry Christmas, everyone. I guess my Christmas this year is closing tomorrow, or Tuesday. Guest closing getting delayed wasn't a bad thing. Saved $4,000 in points and 0.25 on my rate because my lock expired. Congratulations. That's great news. I know I'm actually waiting because for most people that don't know this, your appraisal stays, depending on your bank, your appraisal stays with the property for a year. And so maybe rates continue to decline, hopefully. But this last deal that I was locked in and at 775 and I couldn't unlock unless I brought the deal in the next year, and no one was willing to do that. So the good news is I'm at 775 and the numbers all worked, but yeah, maybe if I can get high sixes, I'll be a little bit giddy and I don't have to get it reappraised. And on a commercial deal, that's really important because a commercial deal, they're very expensive appraisals. They're not cheap. They're about residential appraisal is usually, 70, 80 pages, 60 to 80 pages. And a commercial appraisal is about 180 pages because they have to do all sorts of local area impact stuff and all this other crazy stuff. And so those appraisals, this person that appraised one of my assets had just appraised it 12 months earlier. And he still charged $3,400. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did some commercial purchases for the truck driving school, the campuses, and the appraisal was usually, I want to say, between $4,000 and $6,000.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Compared to the residential ones. I think during the height of the pandemic, I had one appraisal that cost $1,100. The rest were all $700 or $800.
Yeah, we were living around $1,300 to $1,400 for resis, and we were $5,000 for. I paid $5,400 for one commercial appraisal, and I was just like, and I read it, and I was like, that is $4,000 worth of toilet paper. Like, it's completely useless. And if I printed off, I would have killed trees. It was awful. Anna K, hey Robert, rate expired to a lower rate? Yes. Yep. So when your rate expires, it's good for it could be good for you, it could be bad for you. So that actually does what happened. Tiffany Agee, happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays, Tiffany. All-nighter, has anyone had any problems discharging their debt with these cyber attacks on mortgage companies?
So Mr. Cooper was down for, I want to say 3 weeks, which was traditionally auto payments. And that was one that had recently purchased one of my mortgages. So I was in the process of setting up auto payments. So auto payments weren't in, couldn't make a payment, got a letter saying, hey, don't worry, if it's a month late, we're not reporting, there won't be any fees or whatever. But with my memory, I have to automate everything or take I have a bunch of Post-its of like, these are the things you've got coming up you need to do. I don't like stress. That added a little bit of stress because I was like, yep, I will remember this in July. Right. That's when it's like, oh yeah, I need to start paying that mortgage last year.
Yeah.
But it's resolved.
I had one of my original mortgages sell to Mr. Cooper and they Mr. Sucked. And so I quickly refied out of that company. Dion, 2020. Here we go. We'll put this, check this out, Dion. 2024 prediction time. Will Matt retire in 2024? Will I, Dion?
It's not a prediction if you have enough evidence to point out the facts. Or know that the rightly placed challenge can have an impact on the outcome. No, Matt doesn't have the balls to retire.
Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God.
That takes the real water.
Oh, dear God. You've already had a few too many solo cups, too many. Julie Anderson, good morning. Julie, Merry Christmas to you. All-nighter. Mike dissected the bunk argument against house hacking. Yeah, exactly. Total bunk argument. Jared, Oceanbind, Sub2, and Gator Lender. Well, that's a mouthful, but welcome to the channel, Jared. Good to have you hanging out. Love the name, by the way. I'll never forget you. Hey, Rob, keep poking him. May keep the W2 just to spite you. It's true. It's possible. What's really funny is that, so for those of you who don't know, I talked about it a little bit on my channel. I had worked for owners for about 16 years. And the idea and the commitment was always to, when they were ready to move on, was to be part of, because I was the youngest executive in the company by at least a couple decades. And so the idea was to make sure that I got a transition. And so the good news is I got the company sold. The better news is that we've spent months getting the company transitioned. And so I feel like we're in an ever improving place. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see if I've got the balls to do it, Dion. But that was good though. Terry Balu, happy holidays. Let's see. Hope you're well, Terry. Jared, is Gator an acronym for got all the opportunity ready? Yeah, nice. Well done. Rob, LOL. When Matt said he was doing fun stuff in court, I thought he was going to say evictions. No, honestly, we've, kind of what you do when you have like a larger portfolio, or the way what we do anyway, is, with 137 units, we look at kind of three things. One is who are the problem tenants? Two is who are the tenants that are flat out not paying, and then those are easy, the flat out not paying ones. And then the ones that are a problem, then we just recognize that we want to have a plan for them, just in having a conversation saying, hey, it doesn't appear as though this is working out. And we have seen a couple lease violations. And so we communicate, we're going to lease violate you. Because they're being problems. Being problems isn't anything other than they're being a problem. They're disturbing their neighbors. They're leaving trash all over the place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last category that we look at is when was the last time they had the rent raised? That's the third category that we look at, because we don't do the entire portfolio every 2 years. We do some of the portfolio every year. And then it's just how many of that is. And so we've got kind of our list, which is we look at our least expensive to, and then go most expensive. So we look at the bottom of the list and we start going up. We have some 3-bedroom units that Section 8 will pay $2,200 for that are rented out at $1,200. They're going to get a notice in February, because if we get it back, we want to get it back in March, early April, we'll be able to redo it and have it ready for May for prime renting season. So I think that's, in looking at the portfolio, that's kind of how we manage that, is better understanding that. So no evictions. We will post after January 1st. I suspect we'll post 2 people. We actually posted one that owed us $4,500, and we posted her on a Tuesday. By Friday, we had a check for $4,500. Like, why have you been holding on to my money so long? Kid you not. I was blown away. I said to my wife, I said, hey, Ash, I said, I just got an email from this person. She goes, oh, what'd she say now? I go, she's saying she sent a check.
Nice.
What the what?
So I do the same, where I don't renew all the leases, like the rent increases at the same time, even if I have, because most of my leases, not all, but most, expire in winter. Like on the right coast, not the East Coast, the right coast. We don't have the winters like you do. So it's actually just as easy for me to find a tenant. And, I had 27 people show up at an open house in November to do a rental. So I had just as much demand now as I do in the summer. And so yesterday I went and I did 3 binder strategies, because it's been the right amount of time to do it with that.
You did that yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday. That's what I was doing yesterday.
What the?
Because it's middle of winter.
Because it's Christmas.
But here's the thing, because it's Christmas and I get to go, look, no matter what we decide, January stays the same and February stays the same. So it's like, look, I'm not impacting now. And well, so to be fair.
Yeah, just something else to think about, Dion.
One's a nephew, so we were going to meet around family time anyways. The other one is a good friend, and I used to work with him. So I went to lunch with him and did it there.
Fair enough.
But I do it this time of year every year. and people knowing that their rent is the same for the next couple of months. But I don't want to do the whole portfolio in the middle of winter, because if you do have a lot of tenant turnovers at any point in time, whether it's summer or winter, I wouldn't want them all at the same time.
Agreed. What's up, Mike?
And then I see you guys are ready for a picnic if one breaks out. It's just like planned for it.
Smart ass. Somebody's ready for a gaming convention all the time.
Right. I've had people tell me there's no way you're wealthy. You wear the same hoodie. And I have 30 of these, but they go, you wear the same hoodie in every video. I'm like, that you can't be wealthy. I'm like, so my clothes and what I wear is whether I'm wealthy or not.
Oh dear God.
What's going on, Mike?
I'm like, if it's clean. What's up, Mike?
I'm good. And all you need to think about is the fact that Dion is essentially a cartoon character. They're always in the exact same costume or outfit all the time. Which is usually on the animators. We live in a simulation, and this is virtual Dion.
Exactly.
Nice. Well done. Yeah. So what's going on, Mike? How you been?
Good. I was doing my weekly Q&A with Zuber this morning at 8. So I knew I was going to be a little bit late to jump on here with you guys, but absolutely. Merry Christmas tomorrow. Happy Christmas Eve.
Yep. Merry Christmas. I know.
Did you guys maybe do a video on the comment that I sent you and Mike?
I wanted to talk about that. But I didn't want to spoil it.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
So I thought about bringing that question up and reading it. And then I thought, I don't want to steal Dion's content idea. Cause like that's
no, I shared it with you guys. I said, look, this is what he said. Literally, it's a book and a half from Peter Schiff going.
You said,
you guys talk about it here. Wait,
we kind of opened with it. We kind of
okay. One second. I just joined 46 live viewers. There's only 15 likes on the video. I know Matt he's not on his game lately. Look at his hair, but we got to try to help him out. All right. His hair looks way too neat. We need messy Matt. That's when it looks better.
Dear God. Unbelievable. I've already been to breakfast, written a lease, and played with all 4 of my kids. Sweet Lord.
That's a lot of children.
It's a lot of days. It's a lot of hours.
30 minutes waking up. So
good for you. Yeah, that didn't work that way. It didn't work that way for me at all.
For the record, Matt usually messages me. I would say we probably talk almost every single day, back and forth, sending each other memes, videos, that type of stuff. For the last 2 weeks, I thought he died. I didn't know what happened to him. I was concerned. Dion's messaging me, like, have you heard from Matt? And I was like, I have no idea. Then yesterday, Matt out of the blue messages me, help. And I was like, dude, I'll be there for you. Apparently, with his wife having the new baby, he has just been super busy. I said he needed to conscript his oldest son into being free labor, to which he said he already has.
Check. Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, 1 to 2, no big deal. Or 0 to 1, no big deal. 1 to 2, no big deal. 2 to 3 kids, zone. 4 kids, ridiculous, absurd. At the same, like 5 and 5 and under is the age compression's the issue. There's always somebody having a day. It's great and it's been a lot of fun, but Eliana, little Miss Sporty Spice, she's just like, I beat cancer with a 92% chance it was going to kill me. And so I'm just, she's awesome. And exhausting, exhausting. I mean, it's so funny. I was like, literally like one older woman was looking at me and kind of chuckling about the conversation I was having with her. And I was just like, yeah, 6'1", 255, doesn't matter. I'm her dad. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's not nearly enough fear there. But anyway, Curtis Garner, Merry Christmas from Tacoma. Merry Christmas, Curtis Garner. Laura Samaniego, good morning. Merry Christmas to everybody. Let's see. Terry, Merry Christmas, Lumberjack. Thank you very much, sir. We're having a world-class prime rib tonight, too. Wish I could share with everyone. Hyder, I appreciate that. I hate prime rib. I only like really cooked steak. Everyone makes fun of how I like my steak.
Yeah, I'm not a prime rib fan because of the too much marbling.
Yeah,
too much of that. But I'm not a well done or even a medium, but still.
Butterfly cut, medium well on a primary piece of beef. I've had it everywhere in the world. I can judge. That's one of two things I can judge the quality of.
So I just moved to a new town, 5-6 months ago. I've spent the last 6 months hunting for a good steak. Like I've gone everywhere, because where I used to live, there were 2 places that were good going. So I've been to like 8 restaurants that do steaks. I finally found the best one.
Oh, good. Is it reasonably priced?
Mexican restaurant.
Shut up.
Where?
Mexican restaurant. So you go in and they've got all of the traditional Mexican meal stuff, and then there's this page in the back for the gringos where it goes, hey, you want a hamburger? We do that too. But back there, they've got a steak. And I was like, because I've never had a steak in a Mexican restaurant before that wasn't carne asada, and I don't like carne asada.
Right. I'm with you.
So now I've got Mike comes out here. I know a great place, good price. Yeah. Good steak.
Even better.
I mean, I'm happy to come try the steak. I mean, normally we go to Sherry's or Denny's, but who doesn't like carne asada? What's wrong with you guys?
It's like iron flat steak. Like, I want that thick, juicy.
Nah.
There's a reason why cows are big. They make big steaks.
That's right. True. That's true. I like that really. I mean, just I'm a texture guy. So I don't do shrimp. I don't do lobster. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't do anything
Makes total
that's texture.
sense living where you are, where everyone has a lobster roll.
Oh, shit. Literally, people are just like, oh, yeah. I was like, so what do you want to do? They're like, oh, really? Would like to get some lobster. Great. Sure. Let's get some lobster. But they all have kids menus and they all have burgers. And that's where I end up. There, not so much nuggets, but definitely burgers. Monica Galdamez, good morning. All I want for Christmas is a good deal. In California, I feel like the renters have all the rights. You are absolutely right. I was helping somebody in a chat group yesterday. Not Dean's kind of chat group. But I was helping somebody in a group yesterday, and they had actually their son, 9 years old, had grabbed the keys to the duplex next door. And he grabbed the keys and he let himself in. And yes, and
That's
I guess
breaking and entering.
It is. And then the woman's question was, can I be held liable for this? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. You're 100% liable with what happens with that key. And it doesn't matter who it was. And I said, and if he left and didn't lock it and they got robbed, it's 1,000% on you. That's you. So I said, I'll make it real easy for you. Digital door locks, no keys. I said, and you can't tell them the code, but yeah, you're 100%. And so this is the scary thing. You know, newer landlords just don't know all the rules and all the laws and how this stuff applies. And sometimes there's not that common sense there. Of just, well, it's kind of common sense. I mean, it's your responsibility. They're a minor. They're under your control and under your management. And when something like that happens, yeah, it kind of is on you. So I was able to help her. She felt a lot better. And I was like, if I were you, I would apologize and remedy the situation immediately. Because
kind of crazy. A couple of quick pieces of advice for the person in California who feels like the tenants have all of the rights and protections. A lot of that depends on your county. So I would get out of LA County. I'd get out of whatever county San Francisco is in. I just know I would be out of it. But my brother invests in Kern County and specifically keeps his properties in his own name, not in LLC, because as soon as you go into an LLC, now you're held by rent control laws. And so if it's in your own name, they don't apply for single family or duplexes. And California is a big state. It's the third largest state we have. And there's a lot of areas to go to where LA County, they kept the eviction moratorium 3 years longer than everybody else. Like even after Supreme Court had knocked it down in some places, LA was like, no, we're just keeping it. So if you're investing in California, maybe look at what part of California.
Yeah, true story. Terry Ballo, those dang appraisers. I'm an appraiser. I knew that, Terry. What's really funny is, kid you not, they are either at the top of my list or in the bottom of the bucket. I have one or two appraisers that when they show up, I'm like, I like this guy. And the reason I like him or the two of them, is because they have no preconceived notions of anything. They're like, the numbers are going to show it. And we know a little bit about the market, but the numbers are going to show it. Those are my favorite appraisals by far. The ones that I don't like are the ones that show up and like, I've been doing this for 30 years. Well, great. Here comes a freaking low value because you're like, I can't believe these prices. dude, it's math. You're supposed to assess and appraise what the value of something based on the current market, not based on what it was 30 years ago. Thank God. So yeah. So that's my feeling. John, Texas, Merry Christmas. Terry Ballo, ACI on appraisal software is currently in a cyber attack. I can't use my software at the moment. Oh dear heavens. What a nightmare that is. Well, for any of those of you out there who are on ACI and has an appraiser on ACI, it sounds like you might be delayed a little bit. Sierra Smith, good morning and Merry Christmas. Good to see you, Sierra. It started Friday and the company ACI still has not resolved the issue. Well, that means I feel bad for all those guys working the holidays now. Laura Samaniego, Merry Christmas to Hyder. There's Chester, Wealth Building Journey, Matt, Dion, Mike, and everyone. Good to have you. Joe Michaels. Joe, welcome to the channel. How often when you evict a tenant do they refuse to leave versus leaving or settling up on rent? Which one of you guys did the most recent eviction? Dion, you haven't.
So I've never actually had one, but I've gone through 2 in the last year with friends. One was a 14-day eviction where luckily the tenant had sent an email, F you, I'm not paying. Right. So the court said, oh, yep, this 3 days is done. Here's 10. Sheriff will be there on the 14th day. Both tenants left without the sheriff having to like cart their stuff to the driveway. Good. But once they were told you're done, you have to get out, they just followed through. We haven't had anybody stay because I was an officer for 8 years and I went to probably 3 mutual assists with our county deputies, basically going and saying, you have 5 minutes to get your stuff out and we'll help with something big if you need it, basically standing there. And in those 8 years, I probably went to a few, right? But me personally, never seen it. Yeah. And with my friends with their evictions, didn't see it.
Mike, didn't you just do an eviction?
What'd you say?
Didn't you just do an eviction like 3 or 4 months ago?
No. I haven't done a single one all of 2023. I had 2 in 2022, and I offered cash for keys, which they accepted, but then they didn't move out by the day they needed to. So I was like, all right, I'll have to evict them. So I started the eviction process, and then they just moved out 2 days late, and I didn't even end up giving them cash for keys. I was like, you couldn't have made it by 2 days? I would have paid you to leave. Whatever.
We did all of our emergency rental assistance program tenants this year, and then all the inherited tenants that we had. We had a building that we told everybody when we bought it a year and a half ago, we're going to redo the entire building. We don't want to rush anybody out, so we're just letting you know, start looking. But we're going to do the roof, we're going to do siding, and we're going to do things, construction projects like that, some landscaping around the building over the course of this year. and then come springtime, be ready. Because we're going to do the entire building all at the same time. And so 4 out of the 5 left. And then the last one was just like, you can't make us leave. Yeah, I can. I can. And I just said, and I don't do cash for keys. I don't believe in the principle. I guess it will cost me less money, but not doing it. I will not give somebody cash for keys to my own house. So in principle, I will be a rockhead and absolutely say you are not getting cash for keys, F you, and I will spend all of that money making sure that it's nasty for you. I'll put an eviction on your record. I'll put a collection on your record. I will do it all because I gave you all the notice in the world. I did everything I could. I laid out all the steps. I told you before I needed to. I gave you tons of time. And they were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom. Everything included for $1,025 a month. $1,025 a month. Everything included. Dang. Like that's
in your area. That's dirt cheap.
It's less. It's half.
That's what people pay me for my 2-bedroom in Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana. Yeah, you had units that were beating my 2 bedrooms in Gary, Indiana, and he included. Heat included. So my nut a month on that building was over $4,000 a month plus expenses with them staying there. And so we started in August and then September. No joke. Like they finally got out and I was unbelievably nice and forgiving. But they finally got out. They were finally done beginning of December. And so we've now started demo and now we're going on that project. But they were literally like they didn't show up for court, but they called in. And so we're doing this whole thing and we're sitting in front of the judge and the judge says, do you have a plan? And they're like, well, we've been trying. She's like, what have you been trying? We've been reaching out to a number of places in this area. And she's like, and have you found anything? They said, no, that's the problem. And she's like, you're going to need to look elsewhere. And she was a great judge. And it's not just because I got my way, because I'm 20-0 in court. So she literally just, and I tell tenants that, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm happy to go to court on this. I'm 20-0. Like, let's go. Like,
you need to hang a banner like the
Scoreboard.
Eastern Conference champion or something. Like,
Yeah.
you really we're 20-0.
Scoreboard 20-0. Just saying. But the crazy thing is like, we tried, and the judge saw that we were trying. And I said to the judge, I said, Your Honor, I said, I offered them in October that I would pay their first month's rent because I was going to give them their entire deposit back, even though they didn't deserve their deposit back. The place was disgusting. It was a biohazard. What was really interesting was we had a problem with the building. Somebody called the fire department. The fire department came in, and then they called me. I said, yeah, happy to take the call. So have the conversation. They're like, yeah, this has been an issue. Not on any disclosures. We've had a problem with this one alert. With this one smoke. I was like, guys, it's $40. Like, why would no one be willing to swap that thing? They're like, we don't know. And so what was really interesting is we fixed it. And then I said, hey, is there anything else about the building that you can tell me? Dude, he spent 15 minutes on the phone with me talking about how they had removed that same tenant and had to put them somewhere because they had condemned their unit based on how they were living. Now, when I bought the place, I knew I bought a dump. That was the whole reason I bought it. I bought a dump. I wanted to gut it and rehab it and spend $250,000 because of what I bought it for. But again, not on the disclosures anywhere. No one said anything about the fact that that tenant had been moved out because of biohazard. Just some of the stuff that you find out. And it's like, even with asking all the right questions, I would never have thought to call my local fire chief and go, hey, do you have any experience with this tenant in this unit? Like, kind of surprising. What I have started doing, though, is before I do a deal, is I have called code enforcement and I've asked them. So Joe, and then they've said, oh yeah, I've had some issues with that tenant. I'm like, oh, okay. So Joe, to answer your questions, evict the tenant, they refuse to leave. So I've had people drag it out and refuse to leave. But that's why you do the eviction. I love what Dion says when he's like, get the party started early. Get them papers posted 3 days on. Get posted early. Don't wait for them to figure out that everything. They'll take you more seriously. They will absolutely put one foot in front of the other and start making progress. In fact, I heard Dion in the back of my head on paper I posted on December 2nd. Heard him in the back of my head, and he goes, get the papers posted early.
Well, when you do that, you're doing the tenant a favor. That's the part that most people miss. Most people hear and they go, oh, you have a landlord posting paper. I'm like, no, there's all this rent relief out there that won't even talk to you as a tenant until you have posted papers in your hand. And then if you do go through with an eviction, or if you're trying to get somebody out and you offer cash for keys like Mike did, to protect yourself from them taking money and not leaving, offer to pay your cash for keys towards their deposit. Like the way you said, Mike, I'll give them their deposit, but I'm going to pay it towards your rent at your new place.
Yes.
Like, I'm totally fine kind of giving you money, but I'm not going to give it and let you stay. I'm going to give it in a way that makes you go.
Right.
And if they don't go, then you go to the place and get the deposit back, because it's between you and that deposit place, not the tenant.
What was really funny was, so I posted that paper. So that tenant was in there for $22.36 a month, 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 23.36, 23.63, something like that. The new standard brought them up to $26.33, nothing included. So we've talked about this in the past, and I thought I could get more rent, and the other units around it got more rent. And I was just like, I want this much rent because this tenant constantly needs something. And so I have to be able to show profitability on the unit. So I have to charge market rent on this. I charge market rent. I bumped it up to $3,000. And I was like, and then she filled the system with a bunch of bullshit requests. Out light bulb, the toilet feels a little bit wobbly, like literally within these few days. So here's what's crazy. Housing approved the voucher at $3,000 a month, including nothing.
3,000.
$3,000 a month,
yeah.
including nothing.
My Section 8 just did the same thing. Not quite. They went up to 2,500. And it's so I saw a post in Active Duty Passive Income recently. So it's a good veterans group if you're trying to get into real estate or investing at all. And somebody said, it doesn't seem like a good time to buy real estate because rents are going down so much. And I was thinking, well, how's that affecting the 3% raise to BAH for the military, or the massive increase that fair market rents are seeing in most areas, not all, but most areas next month. And so it wasn't the full $1,000, but I'm getting $1,000 raise in January because rents are going up. Now I'm getting almost a $600 raise in March because of my conversations I had yesterday. And yeah, there's always a good reason why it's, not a good time to buy real estate, but it's never the market.
It's unbelievable. I cannot believe that they raised it to $3,000. I thought for sure, I was just like, but now, I mean, my preference would have been that she was gone. But now I can at least
usually the best outcome.
But now I can at least cover all these stupid bullshit expenses that she creates for us, And the really funny thing is she sends the email to housing, and I respond back with, your request will not be honored unless it's filled out in our portal per our policy. Period. Merry Christmas from REI Stoners. Jared, sub 2 Gator lender. Gator is just something the mentorship I joined called it. As a Gator lender, I just take chunks out of the deal for lending money on the deal. Very cool. All-nighter, LOL. The Canaries hold on to millions of dollars in checks for months. My captain still hasn't been paid from last July, still ready to fish next season. That's crazy. Jared, I asked my brother what that hoodie was, and he said it was a World of Warcraft horde.
For the horde. Strength and honor.
Oh, sweet Lord.
For the horde. Right.
Sweet Lord. All-nighter hider. Good morning, Josh. You get a Merry Christmas. Very funny. Jared, 15 now. Okay. Thanks for the reminder, Mike. I did. Thank you. Oh, thank you for that. That was probably for a thumbs up. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder, Mike. I did forget, till then. Bad mod, bad. Got it. Terry Bella, congratulations. Jared, 3 kids here. I understand. Matt Motley, howdy. All-nighter, 1 boy, 1 girl, and I'm done. That's because you're smart. Wood floor alchemist. Is it a bad time to buy a home or the best time? That's a great question. Mike, what do you think? Is it a bad time to buy a home or a good time to buy a home?
Depends on what your purpose is. When he says buy a home, I'm assuming he wants to live in it. And given the nature of the fact that we're real estate investors trying to encourage people to get started investing in real estate, how many house hacks have you done so far, my friend? If you want to get started investing in real estate and you're not going to start with a house hack, then you're setting yourself up for a much longer journey. So is it a good time? Depends on the market, depends on your particular financial conditions. There's so many different factors that go into whether or not it's the right time for you or it isn't. If I was asking myself the question, yeah, I have all the tools and systems and processes in place to make good deals happen, find and execute on good deals. So for me, it's a great time, even though there's a lot of uncertainty going on.
Well, I mean, again, if you're locking in at a high rate on an investment property, so long as it's a lock in on a high rate and the numbers work on the high rate, who cares? Rates going to 10 or 12 don't impact you. The property going down $50,000 doesn't impact you. It's all about that 30-year fixed rate debt. Dion, anything to add to that? Because I know that you're still mid house hack. I saw the picture. They look beautiful.
Thank you. The cabinets came out amazing. I know a guy who can hook you up with a great set. Super happy with them. I mean, seriously, whatever I can do to give a good review.
Only if they're in the boot camp, no exceptions.
There you go.
I do not want to be a cabinet guy. I only want to help out those that are really investing in themselves to build a portfolio. Yeah.
So this is to answer Wood Floor Alchemist question. Is it a good time to buy a home or the best time? Is it a bad time or best time? So Mike had a good point on, are you buying a house or are you buying an investment? Because they're very different things, right? So if you're buying a house, the statistic I like is at retirement age, which is not the way I like to look at it. So 65. For me, retirement is a number, not an age. The homeowner retires at 65 with an average net worth of $221,000. The renter retires at 65 with an average net worth of $6,800. Those numbers are very different. So I'd be on the bandwagon of, even if you don't invest, you should be a home buyer. Most people, not everybody. But if you're looking at, is it a good time to buy? The market doesn't tell us that. It's never rates, prices, rents, predictions. What's going to happen in 6 months or a year? Doesn't matter. Doesn't impact when you should buy. There's two things. Where's my camera? Two things that tell you when you should buy. The first, Matt nailed it. Are you ready? Like, is there nothing major going on in your life, like the birth of a 2-month-old kid, maybe, a major health concern? You just got your occupational change without your consent, death in the family, divorce, whatever else could be going on that says this is not the time where you have the mental bandwidth to focus on real estate and actually make good decisions. And are you ready means, do you have the down payment, closing costs, and money for immediate repairs, and the reserves that lenders are going to want and that you might need in the near future? So that's the you part. And then when it comes to the market, it's not the market, it's the deal.
Right.
It's a good time to buy a great deal, or even a good deal. I'm a good deal guy. I don't mind getting a base hit. Doesn't have to be a home run. You're not going to get RBIs unless you get someone on base. So did you find a good deal? Now, it's the things. You can be ready. You can control that. You can control when you have the reserves, when you've studied your market, when you've learned your asset class, when you know how to distinguish good from great deals. What you can't control is when you found the deal. Now, if you don't look, you're never going to find it. So that's the only control you have. But if you look, you might find it tomorrow. You might find it at the end of 2026. Are you ready? Did you find a great deal? Those are the things that tell you if it's the best time for you to buy. Nothing to do with the market. Because Look at how many people that will apparently threaten to sue you if you say that what they said in 2021 cost my friend $100,000. And because I ignored them, I doubled $100,000 because I wasn't looking at what was going to happen with the market. Don't care. Don't even actually like to look back and go, wow, I made $1 million by buying this fourplex at the right time. That doesn't matter. What matters is I was ready. I found a great deal. So that's when you should be buying. Whether, to me, it's an investment property. The house thing, I don't know that I'm the best person to give that advice. I don't know that Mike is. To my knowledge, me and Mike have never bought a house to live in. You bought a duplex. I bought a duplex, then a fourplex, and I just bought another duplex. I don't understand why people want to pay to live where they live. Like, that's confusing.
Yeah. I have purchased homes too. When I made a deal with my wife that when we had the first one coming, I would buy something. And so I did that, and then I did a follow-up one. But in both cases, it was necessity. I didn't have an option. I worked from home. I couldn't have babies crying in the background when I was on conference calls. It just wasn't an option. I didn't have any office to go to. So that's what made that. So great question, Wood Floor Alchemist. Guys, I'm going to put this next question up on screen just because I don't know that everyone that was watching the chat. Holy Lord, Terry. Holy
That's awesome, bro.
Lord. I mean, congratulations, I think.
Terry's a G.
Yeah, I mean.
Have you looked into what's causing that?
Yeah, I bet he knows. And he's not willing to give it up. Good for him. So, yes, I understand the tired for sure. And way more, yeah. Nice, Terry. So Wood Floor Alchemist is at 4. Jared said you need Dion's vodka 12-plex. Dude, if he had Dion's vodka 12-plex, Terry wouldn't be able to function. That many kids, holy cow. It's like I said, it's full zone at 4. When you're 6-on-1 ratio there, that's tough. Let's see. Back to steak comments. Wood Floor Alchemist, medium rare or rarer. If I wanted it to be like that, I would just go bite the cow's ass out in the field. And so that's a pass for me. I don't like the hair in my mouth. Let's see. Julie Anderson, Matt, you need systems in place for your home. Bring in a mother's helper for cooking, cleaning, shopping, laundry. It's weird to have someone in your home, but you will get over it really fast. I have proposed such a plan. I have just asked that she be able to do more than those things.
I don't see why you guys don't have a pool boy equivalent, and then you guys just make a compromise there.
This is good for the goose, not good for the gander.
Right? Yeah. See, make it monodirectional there, man. Good job.
Yeah.
That's why it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and if you want to say, "Oh, well, you're insecure," I mean, whatever you want to call it, I don't really care. Whatever. So we do have that. We actually have a two of the kids are in school. And then the other two have a nanny a couple days a week that come in for a couple days, and they're fantastic and they're great. And so then that helps us have a little bit of a life with my still working full-time plus and my lovely wife. So that's great. Let's see. Hyder says there's amazing carne asada in San Diego. I would imagine it's like 9 minutes from where the stuff was invented. So it does make sense. Laura San Diego, we celebrate Christmas Christmas Eve, Noche Buena. And a tenant called me at 8 a.m. this morning and I froze. No, today. All wanted to wish me a Merry Christmas. Well, that's really nice. I got a number of Merry Christmas texts from tenants. There's 3 that I didn't get one from. I kind of know why though. Jared lives in Oregon and invests in Arizona. Mike's rolling the dice to see how much longer he's going to stay here. Wood Floor Alchemist, explain, Julie, you let them live in the home with you and then they help for the houses. So what she's talking about is kind of like a mother's helper. So it's basically like getting a second wife with no benefits is essentially what it is. And I'm good with the one that I've got with benefits. And so having a second one doesn't seem like it's really that appealing. But we don't have them live in the house. We have them come just a couple days a week.
When I went to the police academy, I basically did that. I rented a room for free to a young couple so that I could, because it was over an hour away and I was doing 10 to 12 hour days and then just sleep in the parking lot. So I had free live-in daycare.
Exactly. Yeah, we have we looked at the whole live-in nanny thing, and so we interviewed some, and then we got to the comp side of it. I had somebody quote me $105,000 a year to be a live-in nanny. And I was like, and you just take care of the kids.
Was it Mr. Belvedere?
Holy crap, yeah. So we're going to just say that we're not going down that path. No. I didn't build my real estate empire so I could buy a live-in nanny.
So I know a guy who's had a lot of success dating one au pair after the next, like clockwork. Let me tell you, I've learned a lot from this guy about how this au pair system works.
Oh, dear.
And it's extremely affordable. And they're pretty attractive because they're usually in that 20 to 25 year. This guy swears by it. So anyways, now I'm getting inundated with ads on Instagram and Facebook for, hey, hire an au pair. And I'm like, this actually doesn't sound like that bad of an idea. I could run a background check, I could import some quality labor, and, anyways, just food for thought. Food for thought. Not me. Similar. It's generations.
Yeah, right. Mike is asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, though, that au pair program looks affordable and smart.
Sweet Lord. No, it's a hard pass. Yeah, it's a hard, because there is a 99% likelihood that I am saying things on the phone all day long that they will be offended by.
Not their first language.
They'll know those words. I promise. Those are the first ones everyone learns. Let's see. All nighter. Rob knows food is regional, and we got an amazing region. If you like carne asada. ... I like Mike's eviction story. Only had to eat 2 extra days of carry cost. Yeah, it's great. Great when it happens. It's funny because you look at that and you're like, am I lucky or good? Nope, that was lucky, but I'll take lucky all day long over good, right? Because it's like when that happens, you're really kind of battening down the hatches and like, all right, they didn't leave. Now we got to really push all the envelopes and get ready and make a bunch of phone calls. And then you show up to put the papers there and you realize it's vacant. You're like, son of a bitch. But still, it's good. Oscar, have to go? You three and Zuber are the best. You guys, you guys, and all who are listening, have a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Oscar. Good to have you here. I know the event's coming up in another few weeks. I'm excited for that. Or another like 8 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. It's close. It's fun. All nighter. Wow. Cash for keys going towards a deposit. Brilliant and priceless info. Yeah, absolutely the way to do it. Do not give them money. Absolutely make it go towards where they're going. Sierra Smith. Yeah, that's a great idea to use if needed. Bill O'Connell. Hello. Hey, Bill. Good to have you. Boomer 1964. Good morning, everyone. Section 8 in Pueblo, Colorado only went up $30 a month. Dear.
Yeah, you can look up your county and your state on that HUD site that you've shared, Matt. And I was talking to my area. It's a massive increase. Like there was one area where it was 2,200. That's now 3,000. There was one that was 2,400. That's now 3,500. And we speak from our perspective, right? So Correct. Then a couple of people jumped in and said, "Let's look at yours," and we look at theirs, and it's went up like $50. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Very different state to state, very different county to county.
It really is. And the funny thing is that a lot of it can depend on how much housing is coming on board, like for, that's willing to go lower income. And there's some bigger landlords now that are really pushing the envelope, trying to do more lower income. And because of the tax benefits that they get, something called workforce housing is a newer thing. But hey, we'll see. Mick, Merry Christmas. 2 Dotsons, no kids. That's not a bad thing. But the only problem is after a few years, I don't have to pick up the shit anymore. Corey Carter, I threw in a like. Wish I could catch it live, but got to go get things done. The Misfits should enjoy. Corby, good to have you. Good to see you. Merry Christmas. Mick, our first rental was a foreclosure. Second, a death in the seller's family. Third, pandemic panic sell. Buy right and never fear. That's exactly right. It's really all about, like, I like what Dion always says. It's really all about, are you ready? And if you are, then when that opportunity comes, it's like striking while the iron's hot. That's what you want to do. All-nighter, very good, Terry. I know a family of now 13 kids. They have a YouTube channel of themselves in New York, the De La Motte family. Don't remember their channel name offhand. I would be guessing it's called The Insane Parents.
I have 13 siblings, and there was no way we could do a YouTube channel because of how racist my family is. I hate my family.
I'm sure that there would also be maybe some issues that might be not looked kindly upon by law enforcement.
Yeah, the part where we moved into houses, fixed the doors and windows, and waited for the owners to show up and say, "Who are you guys?" Yeah,
I'm just throwing that out there. Probably. Phil Nealon, good to see you, buddy. Missed you. Phil is hard at work in Alaska. But good to see you here, Phil. Have a Merry Christmas, sir. All-nighter. Yep, there. Yeah, I know. We miss Phil. Phil's been so busy up there. Working weekends, house sitting, and knee surgery up here. Oh, man. Sorry to hear that. Wishing Phil a quick recovery with that knee. Agreed. Love this debate. Yeah, not yeah. That's kind of horrible.
Fair debate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a quick. I appreciate you guys always save that stuff for on my channel. You guys are awesome. Dicks. Like I need any more of a challenge. Wood Floor Alchemist. If you had $50K in the bank and wanted to get started in real estate, what would you do? Panel. Mike, what would you do? Mike would buy an entire street in Gary for 50 grand.
He asked how I would want to get started. And I did say this earlier, but I'll say it one more time because I actually just released a video trashing Dave Ramsey on house hacking. It's actually my best video I've ever done in terms of how many views it got in one day. It did 1,500 views in a day as a long form video.
Have you seen the Bigger Pockets posts about it?
About Dave Ramsey?
No, about your video. So I put it in Bigger Pockets in the forums and on the Facebook groups, and it stirred up.
I saw
beautiful thing. So I did the post. And it talks about Dave Ramsey to get all of the hate going. And then I put in a link to the video. And every time somebody said something, I would put in another link to the video. So it's a great video. I'm really glad you did it. And
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So how would I get started? The question, you got 50,000. What do you do to get started? Well, I started with 35,000 and I bought a house hack. And I truly believe house hacking is going to culturally catch on as the way you get started, not even investing in real estate, but just it will replace the idea of a starter home. Starter homes were what my properties in Indiana are like. There were little 2-bed or 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,000-square-foot houses, but those don't get made anymore. What gets made now as a starter home is a 1,700-square-foot, 3-bed, 2.5-bath, 2-car garage property. That's not a starter house. That's a move-up house or a dream house for somebody. And so the idea and the concept of a starter house has almost completely disappeared. So even for people who don't want to be landlords, the way to get started is to buy a duplex, get assistance with the mortgage payment from your tenant, live in that for a few years. And if you want to be an investor, you house hack again and again, or you invest in other things. Or if you don't want to be an investor, you just sell your duplex once you've taken gotten equity in it, and you move that over to your actual dream house. I think that, and I actually see this done by builders more and more in my area. There are a lot of builders who are building duplexes, but they sell them off as individual condos.
Yeah.
You can buy them both. So buy both sides of it all as one package unit. You just can't buy it in an LLC, which means that the smart person who wants to house hack still can house hack if you go to the right builder and you buy it like that.
They call them condexes.
Yeah.
Yep. Condo duplexes. Condexes.
So Woodfloor Alchemist follows up with, I have 4 kids, so house hacking is harder for me. And Mike, kind of the reason why I asked if you saw the bigger pockets thing is, I was trying to drive, people to your video. But it was to point out how many people in those forums said, maybe Dave's got a point. I don't want roommates. I don't want roommates because I have kids. I don't. So here's the quick, shortest version of house hacking. You can have roommates. That's what so many people think it is. You can house hack before you own a property. You can have roommates while you're renting, right? Most of us are okay with that. But once we buy a house, we don't want somebody helping us pay the mortgage, right? We'll have them. They were happy to them help us pay someone else's mortgage, but not ours. So what about what Mike and I did? You buy a duplex, you got 3 bedrooms, you got a garage, you're on one side, you got it's no different than living in an apartment, except you get to vet the neighbors. Mm-hmm. Then I moved into a 4-plex, now I'm in a duplex. But Woodfloor Alchemist, what if you bought a house with an ADU? And don't think ADU like we do whenever we think ADU, we think of what can we build. Most places it's up to 1,200 square feet. So you're going to get a little 1 or a 2 bedroom or maybe a 3 bedroom tight place. But there are ADUs that are a complete 5 bedroom house next to a complete 5 bedroom house that were built in the 70s or 80s that are on one property. I own a house with an ADU that is a 4 bedroom house and a duplex with 2 bedrooms each side. So on one property, it's a house and a duplex. Both of them are over 1,500 square feet. House hacking doesn't mean shared living space. It can mean shared living space. So when someone says, like you, and I'm not attacking, I'm trying to open your eyes with this. My kids are the reason I house hacked. They weren't the barrier. So if you say I have 4 kids, how many millions of families live in apartments? How many millions of families live in houses with ADUs? How many millions of families live in duplexes? And yeah, you might look and find a lot of 2-bedroom duplexes. That's kind of the investor starter duplex that came out in the 80s and 90s in a lot of areas. But you can find duplexes like Mike's with 3+ bedrooms, or you can find a duplex and a house with an ADU like mine, and you can do a house hack, because that's the version of house hacking most people think of is it lowers my housing costs, and that is an impact. But the best benefit of house hacking is an owner-occupied down payment. An owner-occupied interest rate. You get a better interest rate because you live on the property. You can do 0 down or 5% down on up to a 4-plex right now to do owner-occupied. And it isn't forever, it's for a year. Like the intent to occupy is for a year. So my actual original intent to house hack was never going to have small multifamily, was never going to have roommates. It was going to be, I owned a single family house. I would buy another single family house and live there for a year with an owner-occupied loan. After a year, I'd buy another one and move. And then after a year, I'd buy another one and move. And in 10 years, I'd probably have 5, right? Because I could do one every other year if I could save the down payment. There are so many ways to house hack that is how I would start with real estate. It's how Mike would start with real estate. Matt, you house hacked, 9 times, right?
9 times in 13 years.
Right? Yep. And Michael Zuber. And there's somebody, Jared, who says he's kind of new to the channel, found my channel, and now I found here. What we have is a really good knit group of people where we have Michael Zuber, who has all the millionaires that come on and talk one rental at a time. You've got Matt, who does, your burrs, your flips, your value adds, you self-manage over 130 units, like you've got all of that knowledge. Then you have Mike, who's investing at a distance. Then you have me, who's the lazy investor, who, so we have all these different strategies to bring people together. And if you asked any one of us of how you would start, our knee-jerk reaction every time is to default to house hacking. It isn't required and it isn't the only way. But when the question comes up of how would you start, we know what works.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, there's no better return on your capital than house hacking. None. It's the best way to do it. And I've done it with live-in roommates. I've done it with renting out duplexes. I've done it with renting out rooms and renting out the other side of the duplex. What's really interesting is that Section 8 actually has a program for this. They actually allow for roommates. And what's really cool is you actually get the person's 1-bedroom voucher. It's not, they don't change it till you get the 3 bedrooms. You literally get 3 1-bedroom vouchers for a 3-bedroom if you can create a roommate situation.
Nice.
No joke. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we're down that path pretty far right now. Their 1-bedroom voucher with nothing included is $1,343. It will be $1,343 times 3, which makes it a $4,000 3-bedroom unit. I'm getting 3 people houses, and that's how they do it. They want to incent that type of thing. And some people are just like, no. And some people are literally, we've talked to them and they're like, yeah, we're going to be homeless. You could do this. You could do it this way. I don't want roommates. Homeless sounds like a better option. Smarten up. But there is that opportunity. Jared talks about finding Dion 10 days ago. Now he's got the benefit of 2 others, Matt and Mike. Merry Christmas. Thank you all. You're very welcome, Jared. Good to have you. Phil Nealon, Merry Christmas. All-nighter. Jared has good taste and an eye for opportunity. He's hooked on the content like the rest of us. Good call. I agree. Matt Bittner. Hey, Matt Bittner. Does Sec 2. I don't know what that is. If you're talking about subject to, I have not done, I think I've done 1 loan that was subject to, and then I didn't love the deal and we just eventually got out of it. I'm trying to remember. Was that a subject to?
And does Section 8 usually pay the advertised rent listed on the Housing Authority website? He corrected and put the rest of it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Bittner. Or thank you, Dion. Does Section 8 usually pay the advertised rent listed on the Housing Authority website? They should, but go ahead. Go ahead, Dion.
So the way the question is phrased is, do they usually? Absolutely not.
Yes. Not
of
their own volition. Yes.
Because most landlords don't educate themselves, don't even know the fair housing market thing exists, don't look up what they will pay, and they call and they say, I have a 2-bedroom. Will you pay this? No, we'll only pay this, because they have had some other example. The Section 8 Housing Authority's agent's job is to pay the lowest amount possible so that they have more funding left to help more people. It's the way WorkSource works with WIOA funds for workforce training and education. But if you show up educated, so this is how I said in January, my Section 8 Housing Authority raised my rent $300, right? With no arguments at all. They just sent back a letter saying, absolutely, because I did the work for them. So if you want to rent to Section 8, you want to look up the fair market housing, right? You want to go to Rentometer. You want to pull up several comps in the area. You want to look at what BAH, basic allowance for housing, the military will pay at the closest military installation, or close to the closest large college where people can use their GI Bill. And you present that to the agent saying, here's what you're allowed to pay. If you're short on units, you're allowed to go 10% above that based on your variance. Here's the comps that I found, at least 3 or 4, and based it only on bedroom count. They don't care about pools, garages, carports, or anything. It's just how many bedroom counts, how many bedrooms does each unit have. So you want to show comps that are above what you're trying to charge. And then you say, here's what I'm charging. And as long as it's not above what they're allowed to pay or above the variance and not above what comps you provided or above what BAH is, I've not had them argue. I actually had one send me an email saying $1,800 is the most we will pay for this property in this area. I did the work for them. This was 2018. And they said, oh, well, you've pointed out $2,200 makes more sense. We'll go with that. So even if you have a written confirmation of what they'll max their limit at, you do the work for them, because think of that person at the agency. They can't go to their boss and go, we really like Matt. We really want to keep his business. We want to pay him more. But if Matt sends their work and then go to their boss and go, look, this is what the other units rent for. Here's what our listing is, that this landlord is educated and knows what our limits are. we're just going to change the rent to this with no arguments.
Yeah, it's true. Jared, I'm doing workforce housing in the form of co-living. Love it. Be careful. I love the idea, and it does work when it is allowed from a zoning perspective. If you get caught, it's nasty. But if it's allowed, absolutely go for it. Just make sure it's allowed by zoning. It is rent by the room model. Yep. I.e. each room rents for $200 a week. So it's an 8-bedroom house. So gross income is $69.33. And what you'll find too is that those models, they can absolutely work. Rooming houses absolutely work. You know, what you really want to make sure is typically when it's of that size, you typically want to have one person in the house that you're just like, you live here for free, but you kind of manage things as they pop up. You call the plumber, you call the this, you call the that. And it's a much less expensive. You again, it doesn't have to be the whole amount. It can be a portion of it. But that puts you in a much better position to then better manage the asset, and you're not getting all the phone calls. All Nighter talks about the De La Mottes again. They were actually in San Diego and then moved away. Wood Floor Alchemist. He's in Elkhart, so he's not that far away from Gary. It's about an hour. Wood Floor Alchemist. I've been watching Bigger Pockets recently. I think some of their older stuff is better, in all honesty. A lot of their newer stuff is things that I don't love from a strategy perspective. Justin Stanley, wife's B-Day 11/18, oldest daughter 12/9, and Christmas 12/25. So Justin really likes to have action in February. Is what I draw from this. Well done. House hacking is harder, absolutely, Wood Floor Alchemist, but I think that there's a lot of assets where it does make sense. So it absolutely is harder. But if you look at it from the perspective that it's a short-term solution, 1 year, 2 years, a lot of times that forever rate is going to be so worth it. Like we did a house that we had moved into and it was like a 4.5 for years. If we were an investor at that same house, it would have been 5.75. The amount of money that we saved living there and on the debt and everything else, it just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Phil Nealon, attaboys. Good to see you again, Phil. Sierra Smith, house hack is the new starter home. Totally agree. I've been saying for the last year and a half, you need to be buying small multifamily properties. That's what you need to be buying. Not single family, not big commercial stuff. You need to be buying small multifamilies. And then sure enough, the government gave us all a gift. All of us that owned it, they gave us an absolute gift. Now that there's a 5% down payment and they don't have to test out of the rent project of 75%. Dion, you can explain that. I'll let you explain that because guys, that increased my net worth millions of dollars. One decision from the government.
Yeah, November 11th, 2023, Fannie and Freddie decided to their mortgage-backed product was usually 3% down for your first house that you purchase, 5% down for your second one, 10 or 15 or sometimes 20% required down for a triplex or a fourplex. So this was the time when FHA, which is a really bad loan product that you shouldn't use unless you need it. If you have bad credit, bad debt to income ratio, or when you wanted to buy a triplex or a fourplex, you can use FHA. All kinds of reasons, long list of reasons why I don't like FHA, as I've never used it. And I don't plan on ever using it. Conventional loans are just better. First one was even lower than an FHA. Well, they shifted it to where it's 5% down up to 4 units. And you don't have to qualify with the rental income of 75% of the rents covering it, which was a huge barrier in the past. Which what this did is people like Mike and Matt and myself who own some small multifamily, right? Matt owns more, but I have 8 properties. One of them is a single house. So 7 small multifamilies. 5% down just probably quadrupled the demand for the asset class. And when you have a limited supply and you drastically increase supply or demand, what happens to values? So over the next couple of years, without rent increases, without natural market appreciation based on normal supply and demand, we're going to see demand skyrocket because of buyer availability, literally adding millions to our net worth. Or anybody who's watching the channel like Dividend Dave or REI Stoners, who in the last year came and met us at local meetups, went and bought their first duplex. Dividend Dave moves across the country to buy his. Josh and Mary moved from California to Washington. work here for a while, then buy theirs. The value of their property, because more people can buy it with a 5% down payment now going forward.
That's right.
One of the best moves that in 10 years, they will look back and go, that's why I don't have to work anymore. That one move.
100%. Absolutely true. And I think the other thing that people often forget is, did you hear Dion's story? They moved to get into the area and the deal that they wanted to. I get it. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's not like, yay, we get to move. It's not like that. It really is like, oh crap. Well, I mean, I guess if that's what I got to do, but you got to, I mean, yeah, it's not easy. You got to do something. So Sierra Smith says, love the part of your video where Ramsey suggests a roommate instead of living next door to a renter. I know, right? Like, come on, man.
Yeah. I put in a clip in there from his hosts. You know, the number one concern they had over and over again was, well, you don't want to live next door to your tenants. All the hosts made the complaint. Ramsey made the complaint. You don't want a house hack because you don't want to live next to your tenants. Can you imagine living next to your tenants? And what kept going through my mind is, what kind of slumlord properties are you guys buying that your tenants are complaining so consistently that you're actually concerned about it? I've had 5 years of house hacking this property. I've had one call for a repair. It was a water heater. That's it. Other than that, when I've had to turn the property because people moved out, that's the only work I've had to do. If you have a high quality property that you're actually taking care of, you're not a slumlord, you're taking care of your tenants, you're going to be just fine. And on top of that, nobody's face-to-face confrontational anymore. You will get a text or an email. That's it. Nobody's coming over and knocking on crap. It's just more proof that they're from a different generation. But the icing on the cake was, after that being their number one concern over and over and over again, the brilliant advice was, why not just buy a house and get a roommate? Wait a minute. You're telling me I can't put my roommate next door one wall away from me. Instead, I got to bring them into my actual unit and have them live one doorway away. Like, that doesn't make any sense. If you can have a roommate, you could certainly have a tenant.
Totally agree. Hyder says, just like Jason Hartman says, people will drop their standards. House hacking is new starter. Sounds like the sign of the times. It absolutely is. This is where people need to be focusing and spending their times. You don't need the single family house nearly as bad as you think you do. You just don't. I promise. It'll be so much better, and you'll really set yourself up for a great return. Janelle Diaz, happy holidays. Thanks, Matt, Dion, and Mike, for your wisdom, knowledge, and generosity. Thank you for this community. Excited to see you all in February. Excited to meet so many people in February. Very excited to do it. You know what? Top 5 of the list is late night dinner / early breakfast at Denny's. Just saying. Well,
if that's what you want to call midnight.
That's why I said late night dinner, early breakfast.
There you go.
Wood Floor Alchemist, what's an ADU? Auxiliary dwelling unit, additional dwelling unit. The technical term is auxiliary dwelling unit. It basically means you have a house, but then there's another unit on the property that is completely of its own. So it can be attached or detached. But that ADU guy is somebody who's going to be at the conference in February. Derek Sherrill, fantastic. Love watching his stuff. We always tease each other about the products that we're using because we're so just weird about the products that we'll use. He's just like, I won't use that crap. Look, snap. So he's great.
One of the things with ADUs is understanding the colloquialisms that you probably already know them by. A lot of people will call it a granny flat or a mother-in-law suite, right? So it's basically just 2 living structures on one property. That ADU guy focuses on building them. I'm a fan of buying one that's already in place. And if you buy one that's older than 15 years, it's generally going to be 2 full-size houses.
Yeah. Phil Nealon, glad you're healing up from the knee surgery. Trying to get my boss to, for those of you who don't know, Phil's in construction. Trying to get my boss to build some 2-1 dupes. Small crew though, since I've been out. Can only imagine. Less productive as well, I'm sure. And working on a sweet custom home this winter. Very cool. Jared, curious why Dion never uses his VA loan.
2 reasons. One, I will apologize in advance for being the actual physical cause of the 2008 housing crash. I used an owner-occupied loan that was better than the VA loan in like 2000 to buy my first house when I was not buying an investment. I was buying a house. It was 0 down, walked away from the closing table with $1,200 check and no mortgage insurance to buy my house at 104% levered. So they wrapped the closing costs in. I didn't have any out of pocket, walked away with a check, bought my first house. Great deal, right? It was some local first-time home buyer thing. with an awesome adjustable rate mortgage with no cap on the rate adjustment. So when the housing crash hit and the rate adjusted and I got laid off from law enforcement, I was in that lump sum of toxic debt out there of people who were losing their houses. I kept mine. I refinanced to a fixed rate debt, learned my lesson. So first, I never want to be 100% levered on a property again, right? I might in the future, now that I have a portfolio where I have a 40% loan to value. So if I have over $6 million in gross value of my properties, I owe 1.8 million in debt. So I have a lot less debt than what my properties are worth. So I might go with a VA loan in the future because it'll be 100% levered on that property, but my loan to value on my entire portfolio would still be less than 50%, right? So you want to protect yourself as an overall. The second thing is they're harder to get accepted, right? A conventional loan is easier, has less hoops to jump through, the perception from the sellers anyway, like FHA has the same barrier. And like the comment that kind of follows the question is, I have my VA loan in my back pocket just in case there's a point in time where I have $0 to my name, then just the reserves, and I want to buy a place with no money down. So there's a couple of reasons. It is a great option if you have the VA loan. You can get in with no money down. You can use it more than once. You can have more than one at a time. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to use it. I had a 10-year plan and it wasn't required to do it, so I didn't use it.
It's a great answer. Boomer 1964, which is actually the former no code on. So Don, thanks for answering the question. Mother-in-law suite is another thing they call it as well. Sierra Smith, out here in rural Tennessee, an ADU is putting a mobile home on your extra land.
My brother does that. He's got several ADUs that are just a mobile home on his properties.
I love it. In fact, Sierra, DM me or send me a message or whatever, whereabouts you are. I'm going to be in Tennessee sometime in the next 6 months. My favorite uncle opened up a horse cremation business.
Wow.
A friend of mine did that here in Washington. Is, I want to say rich, but stupid money comes in from having that business.
Stupid money. And he all over Tennessee, Kentucky, all over there. And he just goes and he picks up the horse, brings them back to the cremation site, cremates them, puts them in a really beautiful, offering basket back to the owner. It's a thing. It's a thing.
So here's what the conversation I had with my friend who has that business, Matt. So maybe you have this perception with your uncle.
Yeah.
I helped a guy get a job one time at a funeral home, right? He wanted to be in sales, but he had no personality. It's a perfect fit for him, right? He says, I deal with people who are dealing with loss all the time. And about half of them are really sad and upset. Half of them are, it's like they were older, they were sick for 3 years, it's in a better place, whatever. My friend with the horse cremation thing, 100% of the time, you're dealing with somebody at the saddest day of their life. No one has ever, who has the means and resources and care to hire a cremation service for a horse, is losing an animal that they don't love and have counted as a family member. He says it's the hardest emotional turmoil job he can imagine, because even the funeral guy is like, yeah, about half of them are pretty sad, but half of them are ready for this. The horse thing, it tears families up when that happens, when it's a horse that you care enough about to do that too.
So my uncle is a ex-New York detective. And
perfectly jaded enough to be fine in that work line.
Exactly. Yeah. And I call him Steel Eddie. Because just like look at his face, it's just like constant, like it's like I love the guy. Absolutely love him. He's one of the best parts of that family by far. And then he spent 20 years in conservation, fish and game and that thing. So yeah, awesome guy. But Sierra, shoot me something. And if it's anywhere near, because I know it's a massively long state, if it's anywhere near, I'll let you know when I'm coming, and maybe we can find a Denny's, not at 12 a.m. I've also went looking Wood Floor Alchemist. I also went looking into house hacking, quad and triplexes. I've run into a lot. I've run into not qualifying for the loan because the units are not already occupied. True. That's true. But there's ways around that.
Here's why I started with a duplex instead of a fourplex. Debt to income ratio really matters when you're acquiring rental properties for the first 2 years. 2 years your debt to income ratio matters. And the rents that you can collect from your rentals matter. After you have rental income on tax returns for 2 years, the barrier is almost gone. And they won't even look at what current rents are. They will look at market rents. So I bought properties where the rents were not only empty, but significantly below. That's why the binder strategy exists. So if you're new wood floor alchemist, one of the things I'm known for is my tenants ask me to raise the rent. I had 3 meetings yesterday where my tenants asked me to increase their rent starting in March. It's those first 2 years. So if your debt to income ratio and qualifying for the loan might be easier with a house with an ADU or a duplex because of the amount of the mortgage. Now, if you're using FHA, Matt has a brilliant strategy called 4321 because FHA loans require that you not be buying investment properties. They want you moving towards a single family or to a larger single family. But if you're going conventional, which is now the 5% down deal that's available, that exists. That isn't a barrier that you're going to have. So your debt to income ratio is probably going to be a lot easier to handle with a house with an ADU or a duplex. Once you have rental income for 2 years, my lenders have all said you can buy anything you want that you have the down payment for, because they'll look at area average rents, not what your current rents are and not what those units are currently rented for. They might also require that most of your rentals have at least 3 months remaining on leases. So year-long leases are more impactful than month-to-month tenants. So there's like a couple of hoops to jump through. And the best thing to do there is there's the first 3 steps to getting started in real estate. The third step is going and talking to lenders and finding out what your options are. So if a lender is telling you, I'm sorry, you can't qualify for this triplex or fourplex because those rents aren't high enough or they're not rented out, that lender would hopefully say, well, maybe if you looked at a duplex or a house with an ADU, this is what your options are. Once you have 2 years of rent, then you can go out and buy the triplex or fourplex, which is almost exactly how I did it. It was like the 4th or 5th purchase was the fourplex.
Yeah. Let's see, JNYC. If you bought a house to rent by the room, could you use those rents as part of your income like you can with multifamily? Absolutely. It's any income that you're making on the property. Even if you rented out the garage space, even if you rented out the yard for storage, any income that you're creating on that property is 1000% part of the equation. Let's see. Steven, hey Avengers, thanks for the live. I'm sorry, Phil Nealon. He also does that same exact thing. So yes, he speaks from experience. Steven, hey Avengers, thanks for the live. I just bought a duplex in Pittsburgh and wanted to know what are some of the essential tools to have while managing. Thank you. I'm going to do a video this week for you guys called Go Bag. It's called a Go Bag. It's
very different than my Go Bag.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Very different. Well,
my Go Bag is right here. I should open it up and show everybody what's in there.
I carry that stuff on me already.
Nice. Not
all of it. But yeah, you got to have the Go Bag, and it's kind of all the things, tools, all the stuff that you're going to need to help repair a unit. But Dion has one. What do you have in your Go Bag? I kind of want to know now. What do you have in your Go Bag?
The Judge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Damn it.
Always
on my channel.
The Glock.
Dion.
It's just a case. It's not actual anything.
6 ounces of gold in 10th ounces.
Nice. That's actually really smart.
People openers. What else is in here? An MRE. I better check the date on it because it's been.
Yeah, I was about to ask what year.
I think you need to eat that one now and go buy a couple new ones.
Have it for lunch today. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Sweet Lord. So I'll give you all the list of tools, all the things that you need to have in your bag. It literally, you can build a bag for about $500. Oh, like a
very different Go Bag. Be very clear. You're talking about what a landlord wants to keep
Go Bag. Yes.
Right.
The landlord Go Bag.
Not a crazy person.
That could be a tenant confrontation bag.
Right.
Great. We'll do that video on one of your channels. Thin Edge Capital, Section Ace House Hack, game changer. It is. It absolutely is. Let's see. Millennial Mike. I want to get fit, but I don't want to go to the gym. I want to be a better speaker, but I don't want to work on my vocabulary and presentation. I want to invest in real estate, but won't house hack or work overtime. Yeah, that sounds about right, Mike.
Makes sacrifice.
You get them with that, guys. Time.
If I could, every time we talk about house hacking, if you make high income and keep your expenses low, it's not required, right? You can absolutely get into real estate like Michael Zuber did from one rental at a time. He never house hacked. I want to say my brother never house hacked, but he did. He has an ADU on his property. A lot of people get into real estate without ever house hacking. But when the question comes up, it's how would you, or what's the easiest? And that's why that's the go-to answer.
Yeah. Sorry to answer that. All right. Phil Nealon. No, sorry. Jared puts, now with the 5% down, you may consider a floorplex. Absolutely. With that $50K, you could buy $1 million asset. Yeah. And even if you figure some of the closing costs and things like that get thrown in there, get them put in there as a seller credit, overpay a little bit for the house, if you need to, and then use that money that you're overpaying, because you can actually get 3.5% of it back as a seller credit. So now you're only coming to the table with 1.5%. That means 15 G's buys you $1 million quadplex. You're welcome. And Phil Nealon, and this is why my MM is a cap. Ha ha ha. Protect us.
Millennium Mike is a cop. Yeah.
Cop. Yeah. Cop. Sorry. I can't read.
Words are hard.
Yeah. Words are hard. See, I knew this. Dishes every day. Hit the like button, guys. Thanks, Dishes, so much. Dishes is the better half of Simon, the uneducated commis. We mention on every show. Guy's awesome. He's balling it right now. He's crushing it. He's telling you exactly what's going to happen. The Fed is not going to hit 2% and then start dropping rates. Keep your fingers and toes crossed. It ain't happening. You're going to snap stuff. I'm telling you, it's going to be an average. They're not running to reduce rates, because then you'll get this double head of inflation, which then we're screwed. Then you're talking about double-digit rates if inflation pops again because we cut too early. That's going to be nasty. Wood Floor Alchemist, Millennial Mike, where do I find you? He's on YouTube. One of the best kept secrets on YouTube. Yep, he's there. You'll find him. Mike invests in Gary, and he talks about it all the time on his channel. It's excellent. And hopefully someday he'll have a course where he can share that with people. Someday.
Haters.
Hey,
it's coming. Don't worry.
I'll retire. Question is your course out before I retire?
Okay. Yeah, actually, shoot. That's a really good dang. The two things that we make fun of constantly: Matt always going to retire but never retiring, and me going to do live streams or make a course and never doing live streams and making a course.
It's usually those two things. Yep. It's usually those two things. Boomer64 here in Pueblo, Section 8 has a 5-year list. Go figure. And this is the thing. I have 2 of the 4 towns that I invest in. 2 of the 4 towns are out of vouchers.
Same with Gary, Indiana. They're closed. Washington's closed.
Oh, Gary doesn't have any more vouchers left?
No, there's a difference between the wait list being closed and being out of vouchers. I'm not sure if they're out of vouchers. The wait list itself is closed. You can't get on the wait list.
Here, you can get on the wait list, but the vouchers are gone. There are no more. They have hit their number that they can do a month. And until they get more funding, which they got 15% more last year, until they get more funding, they can't do any more new vouchers. They can't do a new voucher. They used to have 5 to 7 people a month in their new voucher meetings. Now they have 0 because they can't give out new vouchers.
But people with existing vouchers, you could steal them away. You can steal them away by having a better product. And that's something I do in Gary, because slumlords are out here renting to Section 8 tenants. And I provide a good product, a quality product. And so I say, why not bring that little voucher over here and live in a place that's safe, that you're proud of, instead of where you're currently at?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, Section 8 is absolutely something everybody should look into. Try and understand the program, see how good they are around you. Dip your toes in the water and get 1 unit with that housing authority. What I would tell you is look at the neighboring towns and see who pays the most, because they will rent out in the town next to you and pay you more. But see what that working relationship can be like. It's important to diversify. And so I would encourage everybody to at least do that. I know Dion did, and most days I appreciate it and I like him for it. And other days I want to go over to his house with my go bag.
Yeah, but I never said take the ERAP.
No, true. But you were exactly the opposite. You were like, I wouldn't take that program. And I was like,
my portfolio is too small to take the risk.
Yep.
Right?
And I did with 10% of my 10% of my portfolio. 10% we went our emergency rental assistance program. Within 90 days of the program being over, 11 out of the 13 were evicted, or 11 out of the 13 were gone. Not evicted. 9. I think 9 of those we had to evict. And it was constant game playing. It was a bunch of bullshit. All-Nighter, thanks for posting the link to the course. Phil Nealon, thank you. 46 likes on Christmas Eve. Not nearly enough for this quality content and these two amazing guests. Brett, my house. Hi, Brett. Booger Fart Boy, always appreciate the name. I asked my PM to take photos of my rental for insurance purposes, and they did. When I got my rental payment, I was short $30. Call my PM. That was the fee. Was surprised. What say you? If I have one unit with them, I wouldn't be surprised if they charged me an hour or someone's time to go out and take pics. If I had 10 units with them, I'd be kind of surprised that they would want to nickel and dime me and send me a bill for $30 for sending someone out there to take some pics, especially since they're likely going to be the benefactor. And I would consider that part of the fee. I mean, that's just me. Dion, what are your thoughts?
I think the property manager is running a business, and anything that you do that costs them money, if they send a handyman out to switch out a light bulb, it's going to cost you a minimum of $30 to $100 somewhere in there. And people will say, well, why would I pay $100 to switch a light? No, you paid $100 to cover L&I, auto insurance, car, fuel, the wages for the person to be there, then the time, then the light, right? So absolutely, it would at least be a $30 fee to ask for pictures of a rental. Matt has a point, though, that the larger your portfolio and the stronger negotiating point you come from, it's one of the reasons why I invest locally and don't use a property manager, because Booger Fart Boy, it makes sense for Mike, who invests out of state. Great strategy. It's exactly how I would do it. But I don't do it locally because the property manager would make more money than I do and still charge me $30 to go take pictures of my rentals.
It's awesome. Link for the course is also there. Thank you, Hyder, for posting that. Millennial Mike, Wood Floor Alchemist. Yes, check out channel. Millennial Mike, it's on there. DM him. He answers most of the time when you send it. All-Nighter, High Dishes. Brett, my housing authority tells me to ask for more money, and then we can figure out the most they will pay. That's exactly right. At the end of the day, in almost every market, Section 8 is not the high. Section 8 is usually the basement of every market, almost always. And so figure out, be like what Dion does. We both justify to the authority. Because when they said to me, they were like $3,000. And I was like, yeah, I own 2 other units that are that square footage and size, and I get $3,000. That's what the number is. If you don't like it, don't pay it, and she can leave. And they paid it. But at least covers my costs.
Bluff.
Yeah, no shit.
I learned that from you. You told a story last year of calling Section 8's bluff. So this year, 2 separate times I called their bluff and got hundreds more dollars. And that's a huge, huge, huge amount in Gary. Hundreds more dollars just by looking them in the eye when they came back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When they come back with their crap number and you say, nope, I'm not going to accept that. I'll take it to the private market. You can explain to the tenant why they don't have a house and they're going back on the wait list. And would you look at that? Oh my goodness. So they're all of a sudden able to come up.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if they were dealing fair and equitably with us, I wouldn't try and get every last penny, but they're not. They're trying to pay the least amount of possible. And so that means I'm going to try and make sure they pay the most amount possible. That's the way it's going to go. If we want to play this game where you think that I am somehow living off of a system, what are you, crazy? I don't need you. You need my unit a lot more than I need you. And we've had that very frank conversation with 3 of the authorities. I've just told them, I said, I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to say, please. I'm going to say, this is the number. And if you don't want to pay it, then you can tell the tenant that they're leaving. It's just that simple. Why would I give you a deal? Because you're so easy to deal with? No, you're a pain in my ass. Every single year, you're going to do an inspection. And you're going to flag stupid things like a broken tile. Did I break the tile? Was it improperly installed? No, it was there for 10 years. The tenant broke the tile, and now I'm responsible for fixing it so she can stay there? What are you, cracked? Like the tile? It's crazy. But yeah, so what Dion said, Booger Fart Boy, on the money, if you got a big portfolio, then, I expect a little bit of help. Don't worry about it. We got to get pictures ready to go do the next thing or get the repairs done or whatever. But if you only have a few units with them, and here's the thing, Dean and I believe the opposite. I don't know how Mike feels about this. I'm pretty sure he's the same way that Dean and I are. We overpay for stuff like that. It's an easy opportunity to overpay for stuff like that and get to be top of mind for them, where when you have a problem and 3 other people have a problem. Here's a perfect example. Doesn't happen in the Northwest, but here it happens where you have this nasty cold snap. Mike will get it in Indiana for sure. You get a nasty cold snap. You have 17 people that have cracked pipes. Who's the first one that goes? Mike's gets done first. Ours get done first. That's how you do it.
Yeah, the way I relate that is with handyman.
Absolutely.
Right? So I will hire a handyman to do very easy jobs and pay a good rate, because then they'll come and do the hard jobs when it's like, I want you to crawl into the crawl space, scare the raccoons away, fix the dryer vent, and crawl in the mud and the muck and the whatever. And the handyman goes, obviously, of course I'm going to go do that because you keep hiring me for these super easy jobs.
Yep, absolutely. Aculus, Booger Fart Boy, I would expect the PM to include some minor things like taking pictures to be included in the monthly management fee. Yeah, totally agree. It depends on the size. When you're really small, guys, they got to stay in business, and these people cost them money no matter what. And a lot of times they're living off of margin. You know, I want to be at the top of their list for, wow, that landlord's super easy to work with. Now, I don't do that from a PM perspective because I PM all my own stuff, but I certainly do it from like an agent perspective. All of them got Christmas bonuses. I certainly do it from, you know, from a handyman perspective, like Deanna and I talk about. You absolutely do that stuff, guys. If you do it, it just helps your business and helps you out more. All Nighter says, Brett, ask for more while explaining why more is fair, equitable, and without saying it, the opposite would be inequitable. So if they deny you, they must explain why you were wrong. Correct. Matt Bittner, Lumberjack, have you ever tried telling the housing authority that they can't have your rental for Section 8 if they don't pay the full advertised rent for the housing authority website? Yes, every time. Yep. Because they'll have somebody will literally say, we had a beautiful apartment. It was a $2,000 one bedroom. We had 4 of them. They were absolutely gorgeous. We had tons of people apply. It said in our ad, please note that this unit does not qualify for Section 8 because of the costs. They said, hey, I love the place. She didn't tell us that she had a Section 8 voucher. And she said, yeah, I want a time where I can come see it during the open house. We're like, yeah, sure. She comes and sees it. And then she hits us with, I absolutely love the place. Of course you do. And I have a Section 8 voucher. The Section 8 voucher was like $1,350. It was $650 less than the market. And she's like, well, but can't you take less? No, I can't. Go away. No. You knew the price up front. And so you just wasted my time and thought that you were special, and you're not special. Not special. What is your, so Millennial Mike, what is your channel, Millennial Mike? Yes, it is Millennial Mike. Booger Fart Boy, that was my thinking. I get it, like I said, but this is, honestly, guys, this is why we teach in our course how to do self-management even from a distance. You know, Mike does a lot of these things on the daily, but we have some very specific things that we teach, like documentation of your unit, that mean that you can do it from 1,000 miles away. If you do things like that, it will absolutely set you apart. And it will make it a lot easier to manage the assets. So then you might not need a property manager. Then you can be your own property manager and then just deploying people to get things done. Let's see. Oops, I just literally went up. We're getting close to done. Let's see. Millennial Mike is the channel name. Yep, got it. There's the link. Lumberjack, have you ever known the above strategy to be effective with a housing authority? Matt Bittner. Yes, it works every time. If you don't want the unit, you don't have to take it. This is a free market. But if you want the unit, here is my price based on supply and demand. It's very simple. So it works very well. It works, honestly, it works beautifully. And the win-win for me was in this last unit, yes, I'm keeping the tenant. I'm keeping her at, just for those of you who aren't keeping track, I'm keeping it at about 17% more than what Section 8 is paying everybody else. So all you other Section 8 landlords, eat your heart out. I got 17% more than you. I got 17% more than the published rate. Why? Because it had to be a win-win for me. The win-win for me was either I get $3,000 and a tenant that I don't like very much stays, or I don't get $3,000 and then I go to the market and then I probably get $3,000 anyway, but it's not guaranteed to show up on the 1st every month, which, by the way, housing shows up on the 3rd every month anyway. So anyway, I digress. So guys, thanks so much for coming and hanging out. Any parting words? Millennial Mike, any parting words now that we've finally established what your channel is and where everyone can find you? You can say it again too.
Yeah, if people want to check out what I produce and see these guys, because they're frequent guests on my channel, by all means, I'd love to have you come visit. We talk about long distance, out of state real estate investing. I live in Seattle. I invest in the Midwest. A lot of people are very interested in investing in areas where the numbers make more sense instead of the overpriced anti-landlord areas you may live in. So that's what we focus on. My final thoughts: Merry Christmas. 2024 is almost over. Or excuse me, 2023 is almost over. Hopefully everybody was able to accomplish some of their goals. I would encourage you that you need to make some plans and make some goals for next year. Not necessarily a resolution, but you need some goals. Dion loves the saying, the unaimed arrow never misses. But if you aren't aiming at something and you fire a shot, you're not likely to hit anything worth talking about or bragging about. So make some goals for yourself. For me, I'm trying to actively right now, I'm looking at hopefully getting 15 units next year, partnering with a few other people. I've got deals coming my way all the time. And I think for a lot of you, that could start with networking. Never underestimate the power of networking. And while it's amazing to talk to us here and now, unless we're investing in the market you're interested in, you need to network with local investors, local people doing it in your specific area you want to invest in, because they have the answers that we're giving here. They have those answers about that local specific market, that local Section 8 program, those local property managers, those local handymen. That's who you need for your area. So unless you're looking at the Pacific Northwest, Dover, New Hampshire, or Gary, Indiana, network with those people too.
Totally agree. Dion.
Matt, I want to say thanks for inviting us on to your live on your Sunday for this. It was great. I always appreciate the invite. You have a great bunch of people that watch your content, and I learn every time we interact with each other. So seriously, thank you.
Of course.
I know you're waiting for the sarcastic joke or whatever, but no, thanks.
I thought it was about to be. Thanks for letting us get your cancel.
I wonder what would have conditioned me for such a thing.
No, not 3 years of, hey, here's all I can do is sarcasm. It was all staging for this one heartfelt.
Oh, shit. It's finally the culmination.
Let me wrap up with, I have a members only live today at 11. So if you're in my members group, we're looking at deals today at 11. So that's in a little over 30 minutes. I finished 3 waters that make my eyes water while I was on this live with you. So before I do that members only, I am going to do a live stream on my channel, which is right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. I took a poll this morning on which video would you like to see first? Broke at 40, retired at 52. The hardest thing about retiring early, or Dion oversharing for 30 minutes. Over half said broke at 40, retired at 52. So that's what the topic will be.
Damn it.
Over a third said oversharing for 30 minutes. And because of the drinking here this morning, you're going to get both.
Oh, it's
nice.
Oversharing and how I went from 40 to 52. So definitely, if you want to see overshare, I will see you probably in like 10 minutes.
The gift that keeps on giving. Well, as always, it's always fun to do stuff with you guys. I know the schedule's been crazy. It was working that 7 times harder just so I could make sure to have next week off. So I will have next week off. Yeah, I know. Shocking. I know. And hopefully I'll be there sooner than later. Yeah, I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas. You know, we like to make this fun and joke around about a lot of stuff. Hopefully we share some things that can help you guys out and give you a better investment journey, better results, less pain like we had going through and doing it. It's always such a pleasure to spend time with you guys. If you ever want to just get like a real, to kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny because when people post nasty things in my feeds, I can't ignore it. I really enjoy interacting with idiots. And so I'm more than happy to light people up. And in fact, my guys found some and they started passing them around and they're like, this is kind of like what he is in real life when you give him a hard time. But I always appreciate you guys. We will always, I think the 3 of us, I speak for all of us, we will always answer any question that you have about investing, always. And you can even have a different opinion of whether or not that will work for you. All we will ever want to do is share with you our experiences. That's why I love working with these guys. They have different experience than I do. But all we ever want to do is share that experience with you guys. And then you get to make the decision with what fits you the best. because at the end of the day, it really is your journey, and you have to take the things that you need that are going to give you the best outcome. So I hope y'all guys have a fantastic and Merry Christmas. I'm going to end the stream now because I know that Deanna and Mike are going to say things that will likely get me canceled. And normally speaking, I don't care because thank God I don't depend on this for any money. But anyway, it's still something fun that we get to do. So guys, hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. And we will see you in the next one.
Ciao.
So back to Brazilian nannies.